that's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, it's
Just
it's
not gripping and getting all tight and all,
it's
tensed
a
up.
it's a never-ending battle, and like you can fix it and change it, and you won't even remember what it's like to be tight, but it takes time, right? Plus,
Yeah,
you got to think of the more hardwiring you've done to you beat it into your head to grip, right? It's kind of, it's not just you. Don't feel bad. Everyone does it. It's like you beat it into grip, and then you have to undo the gripping, and then
yeah,
it's just kind of, there's really, I've learned that the luckiest, not the luckiest, but when there's like a small kid or something who really is like just phenomenal on the violin.
yeah,
I really believe a lot of them too have like a parent who is a violinist or something, and it's like they really are saving them from day one, not letting them move on and play Twinkle or something. They're not moving on till they really are doing it correct. It's like some of those kids never learn a mistake, right?
yeah.
Because they have their parents sitting there watching, or someone, they never make a mistake, right? Unfortunately, a lot of us, we go and we make shitloads of mistakes, and then we have to fix them,
Yeah, yeah,
so, but it's okay. So now just kind of think, what you're going for is to get your innocence back, your innocent, untainted, no grip, no pain. You're trying to get that back, right? And it's still
yeah,
there.
yeah.
You just gotta take off a bunch of layers of shit, basically.
That's interesting. I was going to say, you're touching on what I was going to ask about is what's the psychological component?
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of touching on that. It's like regaining a sense of just not being so self-conscious about it.
Yeah, yeah. And like I know for me, when I feel that gripping start to happen, right? My mind gets stressed.
Yeah,
And it's like suddenly there's a big wall between my mind and my hand, right? So what you're trying to regain is you're just Pink Floyd, tear down the wall. You're
yeah,
just getting rid of those walls and mental barriers that are stopping you from something that's really easy. It's actually easier to not grip than it is to grip, but you have this thing going on
yeah.
that that's making you think gripping is the answer, right?
Well, because I think we learned through life that you need to be in control.
Mm-hmm.
Control often means clamping down. You know what I mean? Like,
Uh-huh.
put the nose, put your nose to the grindstone, your shoulder to the wheel.
Yeah. No pain, no gain.
Yeah,
No pain, no gain.
try, really push, really, give it effort, all those kinds of things, and you interpret that as to be in control. I got to hold on tight. I got to be in control of this
Mm-hmm.
kind of idea. So it's, it's letting go of all of that.
Yeah, really, I tell people that all the time. It's what's the first thing we learn when we're a little kid is what? Right?
Yeah,
You
you
put
grab
your
hold.
finger out to a little baby, what does it do? Grab
Yeah,
it, right? And then you try to learn an instrument and you think, well, maybe if I hold on as hard as possible, it's going to be
it's
easier.
going to be better.
It's not your fault. It's not our fault that we do that. That's,
No.
the little analogy of the little prodigy kid. He's got someone there who's like, hey, don't do that, the
Yeah,
opposite right from the start. But not everybody gets that. So what we have to do now is learn a new nature, not a second nature, but a new one, right? Because we already have a second nature, and usually that's wrong. So we need a third nature or something where that's what you're going for. You're really, now that you get the concept, you're changing the way you think about psychologically about playing the violin, right? It's
right.
it's not, this does not give you more control and more freedom. It does the opposite, even though
That's
you
the
think
opposite.
it
Yeah,
does the opposite. So you have to work through those natural, it's really instinctual to think, I will crush this to death and succeed, right? You have to think the opposite. I will, that's why we do these strange exercises of hard bow, loose fingers, hard finger, loose bow, to learn that, oh wow, I'm capable of disconnecting the two playing fields. My body doesn't have to function. If this is at 80%, this is allowed to be at 10% and vice versa. It doesn't always have to be identical, right? Yeah. That way.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said, yeah, it's like another way to think about it is for me is to try to say that the violin is an extension of me and not a thing I have to hang on to.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just sort of a part of you. It's like an extension. It's the same way in Tai Chi when you work with weapons, like the spear or the sword. That becomes an extension of your body, not not an object that you're hanging on to, but something that's just naturally extending out from you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Kind of,
for real.
so
It makes me think. It makes me think when I stopped fighting with the violin, like, when this was really, and I used to think, it's like this thing that was, and it was and it was when I used this thing that I had the problem, right? Which is true. It's like, it's a neurological thing. It just happens. But once I stopped thinking of it as a thing and just, easing into it, and then not even thinking about what I was really doing, but just hearing what I was doing, it's amazing how your body naturally kind of will set into where it needs to be once you stop fighting yourself. That's why, as I told you before, the exercises of, where you just kind of get lost and
yeah,
very simple things, moving up a scale where you're allowing yourself to actually connect with the violin, rather than like, okay, I'm going to do the scale 100 times and master it. That's arbitrary, really. It's like, you can do 1,000 push-ups, and you can do them badly, right? Or do like one, really get things correctly, and you'll have a better benefit for yourself, right?
right.
So
Yeah.
I think you get it. It's just working
Just
on it.
doing it. I got to spend more time at it. I'm spending more time than I used to, but now I see I need to spend even more.
And the cool thing is, it's practice becomes less like torture when you practice like this, because you actually find that you're discovering something new all the time, and actually like learning about yourself and your body and how things feel. And suddenly everything becomes different, and you're no longer tediously, like, it doesn't feel like homework, something you have to do that sucks, right? You're just actually becoming better at everything. And I don't know, for me, I start to think like I have, not really, I'm not insane, but you start to think like, wow, I have this like superpower, and I have this like crazy control ability over my mind. And maybe it's partially true, but it's fun. It's fun to like learn to control your own mind in a way that most people, I think, not most, but it's something you don't do unless you pick up a violin or something where you need to learn some new mode of thinking, So that's the other reason it can, when people start to think like this, I notice they're practicing naturally going up, right?
Yeah.
When they notice, often with kids, when I start to see that suddenly they're like, I love shrouding, I love scales. I'm like, oh, because you've started to understand that the violin isn't just something your mom makes you do and it's a chore of moving or just getting it done. You're starting to understand that the way you do it affects what is happening, right? And that's a sign. Adults get it. An adult can do scales and understand it, but when a kid starts doing that, you notice, they're processing what they're doing. Yeah.
What I sometimes do, and you can approach practice as, okay, I got to do this first, and I got to do it 10 times, and I got to do this, and I got to do it 10 times, and what I when I have fun, I just say, well, I'm going to warm up a little bit, then I'm just going to do some shredding.
Mm-hmm.
And then I might just move straight into like something like octaves, or I might just start playing. But the whole time that I'm doing it, I'm still trying to focus on the bow and the hand and keeping it relaxed. I
Mm-hmm.
can sort of bounce around and just sort of do whatever kind of whatever I feel like doing, as long as I stay focused, as long as I stay mindful of the things I'm trying to improve mechanically.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is, yeah, is it's totally okay to let go of that practice thinking that you have to, I used to think, okay, I need to master this page today. And it's like that's really stressful, right?
It
Like,
is.
and then you're probably going to do the opposite, and you're going to just be stressed out, and you're going to spend hours and hours doing it, and then you're going to probably beat yourself up,
Yeah.
cry, or have a beer or something at the end of it, and just be like, but that's a sign that you're not connecting with the instrument, you're fighting it, right? and
Right.
and
Yeah.
when we learn, we're kind of pressured to conquer the violin, but it's, as hippie as it sounds, it's our friend, right? It's our weapon, and it's part of us, right?
It's
So
fun.
that's totally fine. When you practice, it should be free flowing,
Yep.
right? And not just dinking around, not just noodling, which I don't think you're doing,
No, I
right?
don't. I'm not doing that so much as I'm just. So all right. So it's kind of a mental thing. So it's like you can approach Schraddick or Kreutzer. Sometimes without realizing it, I'm saying, okay, this music on this page is dictating to me how something should be done.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, right away, it's an opponent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 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 yeah.
But if I say, oh, okay, that's just a suggestion, now I'm still not going to, but I look at it more as like, oh, they're suggesting I do this. And what they're trying to get me to practice is this. But if I want to vary from that a little bit, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's no longer an opponent. It's more of a dance partner.
Exactly. And when you look at it, like Shraddick, like this is your goal, right? Eventually you want to be able to play it 16th notes all in one bow, right? But
Into
that's like if you want to be on the track and field team, and the guy says, okay, so you're gonna just start on pole vaulting at the Olympic height, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
just not gonna work. It's
yeah,
just not gonna happen. And
no,
you're gonna look at that level up there, and you're just gonna go, that's not happening,
I
right?
can't do that. If that's what they want me to do, I'm doing something else.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna say, well, I suddenly decided I hate pole vaulting, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Right? So what you're going to do instead is figure out what it's going to take for you, which is different from Joe Schmo and everybody else, to get to be able to do that, right? You're going to have to figure it out. So, and that's what you're doing when you're doing Schraddick in your own interpretive way for now, right? And you're kind of moving at your own speed. You're bringing up your comfort level when you're ready, right?
yeah, right.
And when your thumb is ready, not gripping, when your fingers are loose, functioning individually, right? Because yeah, you can bring up Schraddick like boom, but you're going to do it with tension, right? And that's
Right.
what happens to so many people. You
Yeah.
bring up
So
your
this,
violin playing with tension, right? But now we're trying to bring it up like in a new natural way without any of that, because there's no expectations, there's no concerts, there's no auditions coming up, right? You're allowed to do this at your own pace. And the whole tortoise and the hare thing, you're probably going to do better and faster than someone who's worried about having to perform, you
yeah.
know? So this is really, you get it, and that's great, that's awesome.
So like with Stradic, here's an example. I don't approach it. I approach it as, okay, what I want to learn to do with this is some bow distribution, but I want to learn. I want to do everything right. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So what I may do is instead of saying, well, okay, I have to do 8 in one bow, or I have to do 16 in one bow, or I have to do all 32 in one bow.